And I'm Jason Parkin for Superstorm Roofing and Siding. I'm joined by Chandler Steffy, who's the owner and founder of Superstorm. We're going to tell the story of a nonprofit in town called Community Support Advocates today. This is my friend Christina. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, Christina Smith. I'm the president and CEO of Community Support Advocates. Thanks, Jason, for having me.
Yeah. And Siobhan.
Hi, I'm Siobhan Spain. I am a consultant for Community Support Advocates, helping them do their fundraising and marketing.
So, full disclosure, I was on the board of well, let's just go with CSA.
Yeah.
For 3 years. And the way I would describe it is CSA helps a lot of folks who are kind of forgotten in the community. I guess that's a very general way of putting it. I always thought of it from a personal standpoint, not coming from you guys at all, that it was, I felt like it was God's work type of thing, the people that you guys help. So tell us the story of, I believe it began as part of the homestead, is that correct?
Yeah, so we started about 26 years ago, and actually 3 larger nonprofits came together to start us. The Homestead, which is now Balance Autism, started, was one of those nonprofits, and then Mainstream Living and Progress Industries was one of the others. And so they started us, like I said, 26 years ago to really meet a need, and that's really kind of our culture, is that we look for gaps in care in the system, and like for individuals who are struggling, or we try to be creative and kind of fit that need, right? So in 2013, though, we did create a not-for-profit of the name Community Support Advocates, or CSA, and became a not-for-profit, and those 3 organizations backed out of us. And so now we're a standalone organization, have been that way since 2013. We appreciate our large nonprofits who started us. We learned a lot from them.
Sure.
And so we've grown a lot since then, since that time. So we serve about 2,500 people a year, all kinds of different disabilities, individuals with intellectual disabilities, autism, brain injury, other developmental disabilities, and then of course individuals and families living with mental health issues and concerns. And so, and we do a lot of different kinds of things. I know, Jason, one of the things, it's hard as a board member or even the community to kind of understand exactly what we do, because there's so many
I feel
things.
like I went to a sales training once, and the guy was telling a story of how he got on an elevator, and the guy said, what do you do? And he said, what do you need done? And that's kind of when I think of you guys, it's like if there's a need, we're going to see if we can help with that need.
Well, we really kind of, some of the things that I really love about CSA is that so many of the people who work there, including myself, have a lot of personal experience with living with disabilities, or have kiddos who have disabilities, or family members. And so we really take the approach of, what does the community, or what do families or individuals need? And we've built a system that's no wrong door. And so even if it's not something that we can provide you, we will work with you to find what you need. And sometimes the system really puts a lot of barriers in place. And so one of the number one things that we do is we partner with you to find where you need to go to find what you need. And so the biggest thing we do is we do coordinations, and the system's pretty complicated and it changes all the time. And even though we're experts and have been doing that for 20 some years, it takes a lot to know what the system, how to navigate that system. And so that's what we do.
So, not familiar with what you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've said something multiple times that just to help not only myself but people that might listening to this that we're talking. You've said system multiple times.
What is the system?
So what are you talking about? To me, that's like I'm from a family with disabilities, and I think of the Matrix when you talk about systems.
Yes.
So can you briefly explain what you're determining about the system? And sometimes we view systems as being bad.
Yes.
And maybe it isn't that you're referring to something that's bad. You're just referring to something you have to go through to get somewhere.
Yes.
So without it painted as this huge, monstrous, bad thing, you're helping through it. What are you talking about?
So there's a lot of different, when I say system, there's a lot of different parts of our many systems that go into the system that I'm referring to. And so, for example,
System
and I'll just
on a system.
Yeah, I know, right? And
Public health systems
are hard, right?
Okay.
And that's why they're so complicated. So I'll give you an example. So when I also am a family with individuals with disabilities. And so, my kiddo, when she was struggling with mental health issues, she didn't get necessarily quote unquote what we would call services, but she needed maybe therapy and psychiatry and medication, right? So there is and then of course there's insurance and who's going to pay for that and how do we access those services, right? And so that is a system in and of itself,
Yep, right.
And how do I navigate all of those things, right? But then if you have a long-term disability, and I know both of you gentlemen probably understand that, there's once families and individuals, once you become an adult, may need help outside of what doctors can provide.
Right.
So, what does that look like in schools? What does that help look like in schools? What is my kid going to do when they grow up and move out? Maybe they're not going to live at home all the time. Maybe that's looks like how do they get a job, and we support them getting jobs and support them living alone, and doing everything that you and I want to do. Have healthy friendships and know what their symptoms mean and how to access medical care and how to understand when someone's trying to take advantage of you. I mean, there's so many nuances to it. And because of that, there's different services that help individuals who can't do it on their own do it so that they can be as independent as possible. And what we do is we help you either by providing that service or finding that service so that you can live however you want to live.
So you're ever evolving.
Yeah.
Is that what I mean? Because you have this massive system, and then you've just explained there's all these other systems. And while that's going on, somebody might come in and need this over here. That's a whole nother system that you will help explore it, go through the process.
Right. And of course, all that takes money, and there's not a lot of money. And so then you have to figure out, okay, here's this group or individuals that need something. How do I get it funded? How do I get them to access it? And right now, there's just a lot of holes that families and individuals are falling into.
Oh, but all these families have money that come to you.
Yeah.
She mentioned there's no wrong door. So that's the amazing thing about, many things about CSA that's been so impressive to me is that they don't turn people away. They're there for as long as you need them, which is often for a lifetime. And they work for such little pay because the reimbursement rate of one of these systems how they get paid is so low and it doesn't keep up with the cost of living.
I'm assuming they're months, if not years, behind in payment.
Yes, especially when there's a big cyber attack for all the system in the U.S. for reimbursement for medical bills and insurance. That really hit everybody really hard, but especially those that don't have a lot of cushion in their budget.
Yeah, no
to start.
resources.
Right.
I think of you guys sort of as tour guides. There's a lot of services and things available out there, but I'm a special needs parent. You've got a special needs brother. You've got kids with special needs. There's so much out there, and it's so hard to know what's available and how to access it. And this is for people with, let's say, normal, neurotypical. Is that the word I should use?
Sure.
So imagine someone with a brain injury or a disability of some kind, them trying to figure all this out, this net, this web. It's impossible, and that's one of the things that you guys do.
I think oftentimes they just want to give up, right?
Sure.
It's too much on top of what they're dealing with already. And I'm so glad that CSA is there.
Most of who we serve don't have any income and are on Medicaid. That's a majority of who we serve. And you mentioned, the reimbursement rate doesn't keep up. That's probably been the biggest issue we've had. I've been on this crusade the last few years because all of my staff require a degree to do what they do, and they're, I think, amazing.
I agree.
I have this fantastic team who works hard and does hard work, and has a generous heart, but they also need to feed their families.
Yeah, they have to support
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
And if they have a college degree, they probably have college debt.
Yeah, and
And they also have hearts, and so they also want to give even more than what
Yeah.
they're already giving.
Unfortunately, the reimbursement rate for Medicaid has not kept up with. I've got degreed staff who the Medicaid rate pays us to pay them significantly less than a living wage. So, Medicaid reimbursed direct support staff. The average was around $12 an hour just a few years ago. We worked hard to get it to $15 an hour just this year. And that is so poor, because I've got degreed staff making $15 to $18 an hour, and my teenage son can make that at a movie theater.
More.
I have a daughter right now that serves ice cream, and with her wage and her tips, she's over 20.
Yeah.
And she isn't even through college. She's just in college, and there's
I've
high
got
school
a
kids.
15-year-old who can make that.
Yeah, and we've got a system in place that isn't, again, a system.
Right. I know,
In
we use
play.
that word. But so my goal, and we haven't talked about this yet, but we just recently moved to a new building where that we actually, my board, and I had said we had to do something because we've been arguing with Medicaid and the system for a long time, and they're doing what they can, but here's 3%, here's whatever, and that's not enough because everyone else is raising wages so much farther.
Right.
And I gotta keep, the system's gonna fail if we can't do something, right? And so we've started fundraising, which we never had to fundraise before, but we are doing that. We have a fundraising campaign, but we decided to try to, how do we sustain that? And so we purchased a building with double the size. And if I can eliminate the cost, my expenses are staff and our building, right? And so if with this fundraising campaign, if I can have a nice space that's welcoming and I can expand services and then not have to pay for the building through the fundraising campaign, then I can use the cost and have all of my expenses go to staff, and then maybe I can pay them a living wage. And that's sustainable to me. Mm-hmm. And that's our goal. So now we have a, $2 million fundraising campaign. And if I can raise that, then I can actually be sustainable, and not have to beg the legislature every year. So that's my hope, is to try to think differently, because I don't see in the future us getting to where I need to be in order to make the system work.
I don't think it's catching up to itself. Unlike my industry I'm in, just this year, April 1st, we had an increase of 7 to 8%. August 1st, we got another increase.
This is in material cost.
In
right?
material cost.
Yes.
My material cost in 1st of August is going 7 to 8%. They're talking October 1st, another 7, 8%. That's a 18 to 25% increase, depending on what percentage that's going to be. And I, fortunately enough, have the ability to go out and raise my prices. However, in the situation you're in, you can't go do that.
No.
That isn't money that just shows up. For us, now it's going to cost me business because some people aren't going to do it for the price that we have to go to. But we have a gap because it takes for us to get caught up 3 months to 6 months. I'm assuming you're 18, 24 months plus, and right now you're so far behind, you're not even equal right now.
Oh no,
or you never will be.
Just raising staff, the lowest wages staff to 15, that rate, the rate is still way below 15, even though, and that is just embarrassing.
It is. And I think there's a good point in here that you made. We have to serve the community. It's not like, oh, well, if you can't pay it, we'll just go to the next person.
No one else pays it.
They don't. You could. I think this is another thing. CSA is really great. I am here to help tell the story and interpret some of these things that people in the public don't understand about the systems they are working in, because there's a lot of jargon that's different. There's a lot of education to do in the public. So they could be an organization that only takes the people that is qualified for Medicaid and all that stuff, and to make sure that those, at least the lower amount is being paid. They they care for everybody.
Everybody who shows
It's an
up.
open door.
Right. So that's kind of zero. So they don't want to make that choice of having to turn people away who need it, because the inequality of pay is getting larger and larger. And if they're not going to do it, who will? And I love the fact that they also are at the Capitol and in these meetings with the public health representatives from the state and federal agencies. That's part of her job too. It's not just caring for the people, but advocating for the people who work in this system.
So as a business owner, as you say that to me, most people think of the costs as being the people coming in, and like a doctor, you come in and they're taking care of you. Well, everything you just explained there that you're doing outside, there's
There's a cost.
There's
to
a
that.
cost involved.
Yes,
You're going to
absolutely.
meet with and you're going there, and I don't want to use the word begging, but you're going there trying to get funds
Right.
to help take care of you. And as you've been talking here in my head, I'm just going, what if I didn't have a coffee today
Yes.
at Starbucks
Yep.
at $7 to $10,
Right.
and I did that once a week?
Yep.
That might be $50 in a month very easily. And then what if 100 people did that? You know,
It
we
adds
drive down the interstate, and I think of myself. Lately now it's almost any off ramp, but you stop by and there's somebody standing there and they're wanting you to give money,
Everyone.
right? And every
Right.
day it might be a different in this
Yep.
case here, every day you're here and you're serving people similar situation, not
Yes.
just like that, but you're serving people within the community that they themselves are going out trying to work to make money.
Right.
You're also trying, from what I understand, trying to advocate for these people with disabilities, to find companies to work with them, to be able to help them make an income
Yes.
as well. So there's so much value that you bring.
There's so much value.
How many do you have a share? How many are on staff? How many volunteers do you have? Then how many on staff are you paying for? What's the size? I mean, what's that size of your business?
So we have about 70 employees.
Holy cow.
And volunteers, it kind of depends. In this field, it's kind of hard with volunteers. So we get a lot of volunteers around like events and things. So you'll see a lot of volunteers we have a grand opening coming up at our new location, and we're hoping it's just on
Week.
Tuesday. So Tuesday, June 25th is our grand opening, and we have that new space, and we're bringing people into it we want people to know what we do, and I want them to talk to my team and see how they can impact the community just simply, as well as ask questions. There's food and music and art, all kinds of fun stuff. But we do a lot of volunteers around that. And then we have a free art program at Mainframe
I
Studios.
didn't even mention Momentum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Downtown. And so we've been doing that. This is our 20th year of Momentum, which is a free art program. And so we get a lot of volunteers through that. But actual service provision is a little trickier with volunteers. And so it'd be nice. We're trying to build our volunteer base. So
they do a ton. And the fact that they haven't really had to fundraise significantly, and now they're moving into that realm in Des Moines. A lot of people don't know about CSA. I call them Team CSA because their website is teamcsa.org, but also you have a team when you come to CSA. And so I am the big advocate on their behalf, because I know how to reach a broader audience and who's out there, and how can I help them, people get to know who's been under their nose the last 26 years, working so hard in our community, and nobody knows about it. It's amazing. So if they can raise a little bit of money, I think Christina's always been innovative. That's why I'm attracted to CSA and Momentum. I get to know them through Momentum because my background is in art. And they're always thinking outside the box of how they can make quality of life better for the the people that are so underserved and ignored in our community. And it's hard to fundraise when nobody knows who you are, even though they've been there for 25 years. We said, like, well, we're afraid to give you money because we don't know you. I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. They're literally saving lives every day and making life worth living. They're testimonials from their parents, the parents who are participating, and the kids. You listen to them, and if you're not moved by it, it's amazing what they're doing. So I think the love they need to be brought into the realm of the fundraising community in Des Moines and be really recognized as such a valid investment in our community dollars.
You need to come out from behind the curtain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's interesting you say that, because
That's what we're doing
I'm
with
from a
this.
family of disabilities, and I haven't, maybe my mother has heard, I have not heard of you.
Yeah.
And the reason we've met, number one, is through Jason and the relationship that we have, but then right now you're bought a new building. The building, unfortunately, needs some work renovations
Yes,
to
we
it.
talked about that.
So
Yep.
that's what obviously we do.
Yes.
And this is a great example that, as Jason and I have talked about the nonprofits and how we try to help, is we try to take what we do, identify other areas that we can give back and serve
Yes.
in. And in this case, we've reached out, and we already were wanting to meet you.
Yep.
And then this has came up to meet even more. So those listening that want to help with a new roof, they're needing a roof on their
Yes.
building.
Yeah.
And we don't do the type of roof that they're talking about, but we actually have a great relationship with another company here in
Which is really
town that
valuable.
we've introduced the two back and forth. Hopefully something's going to come from them. But this is just, it's awesome.
Let's
It
go
is.
back to the dollars and
Yeah.
cents. And I didn't necessarily mean for us to get into government policy, but that's fine because it's an important topic. Let's say you go to a model where, look, we can't, we have to only take people that are on Medicaid or where we're going to get reimbursed. Let's just hypothetically say that. If people come to you and you can't help them, what happens to them? They go to jail, they go to the hospital.
Well, even if we took just individuals Medicaid, we probably couldn't make it because the Medicaid reimbursement's so low. Now, I do think the state's really trying to work on that. It's just
It's
so
slow.
slow.
I'm just thinking in terms of if someone's sitting in a jail cell,
Yeah.
it costs money from a taxpayer perspective.
So what we see
Yes.
is that it's really, and I'm going to use the word system again, but because there's so many systems, right? What happens is, and we've seen this, so every industry has had difficulty getting staff, right?
Yeah.
We've all had it.
Since
Everybody's
COVID,
seen
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And if we can't engage staff in a meaningful way, and we have to pay them, I mean, the bottom line, we have to pay them a living wage in order to engage with staff, right? And so the entire, not just CSA, but the entire industry of healthcare and my industry has to be able to do that. And then we have to be able to be kind to our staff and have a good culture and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, but so what happens is that if we have an extreme staffing shortage. Now, CSA does a really good job with that staffing shortage because we have a really strong culture. But some of my peers have 40 to 50% openings. And so what happens is they have to close programs, really necessary programs. And so then how that impacts us at Community Support Advocates is that, remember, our job is to help people find services if we don't provide it. And so let's say I have a service coordinator who maybe has 50 people on their caseload, and their job is to find the services that they need. And now 40 of those people don't have any services out there to find because everybody has shortened their service list, because they don't have staff, because of the reimbursement rates are so low. Now those coordinators are doing direct care with a caseload of 50 because everybody's in crisis because they don't have care. And now those coordinators who make $17, $18 an hour are doing direct care because those are human beings in crisis, and although that's not their job, that's what they do. And so
Yeah.
those individuals and so then also it's backing up ERs and our hospital friends and our ER friends and our friends at the public health system and the jails and all of those. We all get together and talk about it all the time, that we just see everything's backing up. And so it's really a community problem. And so it's a hard fix. We have to just kind of change where we're putting our dollars to see that this system is important and fund it correctly, so that at the bottom line that programs like ours can pay our staff at the bare minimum living wage. And then we have to be willing, us as organizations have to be willing to be creative, kind of like what we are, as to how do we be more sustainable, and then and be creative. And then what we're doing is, because going back to the building, if we can own that building outright, I can put more money into staff, and I can expand services. Because if I can expand services and I can expand, that building now is double the size where I just moved out of, same cost as what I was paying to rent, but with the capital or the fundraising campaign, if I can actually pay off that building, then I can pay my staff more, and I've already doubled the size of my therapists and my psychiatrists. So now, where people were waiting months to see therapists and psychiatrists, they have openings for that. I'm going to open a kids program for kids and families who are in need, and we opened a program to help people get out of jail earlier. So we're trying to fit some needs that the communities need in that space.
Right.
So it allows us to do a lot more things, and so then once we do all of those things, then we'll look at more community need.
And it takes two things. It takes time and it takes money.
Both of those.
It does. Yeah.
It's
And
true.
then it's time. And, well, there's probably a third, or there is a third, and that's the community.
Yeah, we
And
can't do it
that's as a
alone.
community to come together. And
Yeah.
individually, and then at business levels, business owners to come alongside and help
Yeah.
you. Help you a little
Absolutely.
bit here and a little bit there, and the next thing you know, you're starting to fill gaps. The one gap we keep talking about is and this is one I've talked to Jason about that I feel pretty strongly about, is it's not just the individual with the disability. There's significant others.
Yes.
Whether it's a wife, whether it's kids, whether it's a sibling, they're silently going through this as well. And guess what they need? They need some mental health. They need some health
Support.
taken
Yeah.
care of.
They need a
They're-
break.
They're having a break.
They
They
do.
need that evening out to go on a date with the
Respite.
wife.
Yes.
And as bad, and this sounds bad, but as bad as the situation is for the person with the disability in the world we live in, this
Yeah.
probably isn't proper to say, there's the other ones that are in that family that need it as bad, if not more, than the person with the disability. And
Yeah.
and it sounds like that's some area that you're able to help the families out as well,
I'm a
which
huge
is
parent advocate.
Oh.
Because I think as parents, we do not help. It's almost like we don't even think about helping ourselves. It's like, because there's so much going on with the child with disabilities or the adult with disabilities, and you're just so focused on what they need until you just lose it.
Even
well,
though you
this
exist.
is what you're focused
Right.
on.
Yeah.
You're focused on that pillow that you put your head at
Yes.
night, so you can close your eyes and you can fall asleep. So when you wake up the next day, you're back in go mode.
I-
That's all.
Sleep is one of my favorite things.
Exactly.
I don't know how
exactly.
that is. I mean, that's what you look forward to.
And so I'm a big proponent of self-care for parents and caregivers, and the fact that, we have to take care of ourselves, and how the trauma that we experience, and how we need to, all of that, and giving ourselves permission to do that. I mean, I talk it. I probably am not that good at it.
I don't think you are.
I think she needs to get a little bit better at that.
But even though you might sit here and think, well, I don't know anybody with disabilities that I affect, but every day,
Oh, man.
every single one of us is affected by somebody with
Absolutely.
disability silently through
Or
one or
mental
two
health
people, or
illness.
mental health, all of it, what
All
you're
of it.
talking about.
And we impact one another.
100%.
Nobody lives in a bubble and have challenges that somebody else isn't feeling, and it's not impacting other people. I've been there myself too with my family. It's like, it is painful what a family goes through when there's a crisis. And I think CSA, again, is attracting talent because of their culture and what they do. They're so authentic in what they do. They're expanding services when others are contracting. The reason they wanted this building is to be able to add a mental health clinic for kids and adults. So they have now a clinic because there was such a need. There's a mental health crisis happening across the nation for the youth. It's not going down, it's just escalating. So the need is going to increase and continue to escalate. So this new building is so much more accessible and public facing. So that's a win as far as getting the community to understand that they're here and the work that they've been doing every day. And they really are a family. It's been interesting because when I first heard about the social services aspect of them, I kind of pictured very clinical and kind of hospital-like vibe. It is a family, and it's really amazing to be around people that see you, that care about you, that are really present even in this really hard industry. I can't believe her resiliency. The stuff that she faces every day, and she has such a positive outlook on life. It's so infectious, and it's also so encouraging. If you're feeling down about what's happening in the world, these guys are like knocking it out of the park.
Speaking of community and mental health, we've brought both of those things up. One of the things that you guys do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we have sort of a growing model now where, let's say that the police are called on someone for some reason, behavior, something they've done. A lot of times taking that person and throwing them in jail does no good to anybody.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about that too.
And one of the things that you guys do is come alongside at that point.
Yeah, so she mentioned that CSA started a program for incarcerated folks. You know, Polk County and the state really rely on CSA to face these challenges because they're not afraid of it. They needed somebody to step up to the plate to help implement this program that is in place in other states, but there's not one in Iowa. So CSA is like, all right, let's do it. We're going to figure this out. So if you think about if you have a mental health breakdown or a crisis while you're incarcerated, you don't have access to your medication, your community, you lose a job, your family's maxed out, all these things just get compounded so quickly. So this outpatient restoration
competency restoration.
Competency. This is one of those jargon things that doesn't make sense why they named it that, but inside the system it does. So they work with those individuals to be able to get them help, get them in their community, being able to go into the court system quicker, because otherwise they just sit in jail longer until they are competent.
And how does that work?
Exactly.
It probably doesn't work.
There's no system to help them gain that competency. And the fact is they don't just stop there. They want to make sure they don't go back into the criminal court system. Mm-hmm. You know, so they just see the long game, and they want to really help do the hard work. And it's, again, I'll sing their praises and forever. But it's just another example of how they're stepping up to the plate, and I want the community to step up to the plate and help them fundraise, because self-sustainability we should all be supporting. It's an awesome vision that she has, but I also am gonna say I hope they get fundraising forever, because I think they deserve to be really supported, and being able to be their staff supported and being in a great place to work.
Central Iowa has a lot of extremely successful businesses.
Yes.
Extremely successful people. Mm-hmm. You know, we're known for our insurance. We're known for our the technology, the stuff that we have here in just Central Iowa alone. We have the ability and the capability as a community to come alongside an organization like yourself
100%.
And make this happen.
Yes.
And help solve our problems.
We're an amazing community that way.
It's amazing. Iowa's amazing,
yes.
Let alone you pull Central Iowa into it. As I sit here and I'm listening to you both talk, I have to ask you this. Again, going back to how long you've been a part of this, and this is a little not talking about CSA. This is about you. And you may not want to share it, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but what's I think of, you have to be extremely proud. What are the things about this that makes you feel how you feel? Is that all right to ask? And you don't have to share if you don't want to. I see a woman sitting over there, and on your face, I'm sitting here going, oh, so what's she thinking? Is she thinking about the next meeting she's going to? and
Probably.
Lunch, maybe lunch.
But maybe lunch. But I sit there and I think, but it looks to me as if you're passionately thinking through exactly what. Sometimes you get in meetings and people are engaged, but they're not engaged.
Yeah.
I feel like you're fully engaged right now. What is it that you can share about what this is to you?
Well, I started with CSA when it first started, and I was pretty young. And it's kind of one of those things where I wasn't expecting to stay as long as I have. I've been there 25 years.
I thought it was in the 20s. That's why I had to go this route.
Well, and
most people in this world don't do it.
Because you won't say, but you've had opportunity to go elsewhere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And
You're valuable.
And I really love it. The
Yeah.
reason I love it, and I've stayed so long, is for the people. And it's not just the people that I work with, but the people that we support. And I kind of fell into the job, and I fell into the industry. And I've learned so much. I mean, obviously, I didn't know I was going to have kids who faced mental health issues, or people in my family who faced it when I started. I was only 25 when I started there. But the fun part about CSA is that, the people, like Siobhan had said, we'd all worked, when you start with a company that it was kind of a startup, right, 26 years ago, and we all had worked places we didn't like. I mean,
Love.
you love. And we had our old executive director had given us the ability to make it what we wanted it to be, and we had so much ownership of it. And so we learned how to partner with those three owner organizations. We had the ability to learn from them on how to run a good organization.
Right.
But we also really had to, we had so much ownership of if something wasn't working, no matter where you were in the organization at that time, we could do something about it. And I don't know that anybody else really feels that way, unless you're an entrepreneur, unless you run the company, right?
Yep.
If something's broken, you just feel helpless,
get up and you go,
right? Or you go find another job. But no, that's not how it was. We could fix it. And so I was really attracted to that feeling of making things better for not only me, but everyone else. And not only just the staff that we worked with, but the people that we served. And then that grew, and then it's like super cool to like have a vision and then see it work.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, I know that
I love
entrepreneurship
it.
kind of thing, and then to not only see that, but then to see how it impacts people
And to share it.
Oh my gosh! And then to see like people talk about how it impacted their lives. I mean, like that's like the coolest thing ever. And so, it's pretty cool. And I hope that my team would say that that they have that feeling as well, as if something's not working, that they can fix it, because that's what I really want.
You want to hire good people and let them do what
I
they
have
do.
an amazing team, and they should be able to fix. Yeah, because that's their
baby.
stuff.
It's their baby.
Their job is their job, and they know a lot more about it than I do. And if something's not working, they should be able to fix it.
Always hire somebody smarter than you.
Oh, I have a lot of people who are smarter than me, and
Why'd
they
you
make me
hire
look
me?
good.
That's the key.
Fail.
Find somebody smarter than you.
Right. I know, it's so funny when people ask you, well, how come you don't know that answer? I'm like, because I have really smart people.
I'll go find it.
I'm
Give me
smart
20
enough to know that I don't know that
Give
answer.
me 24 hours
Yes.
and I'll come back with the right answer.
Right.
And I try to team up with the companies that do the same thing, or vendors that do the same
Absolutely.
thing for us. We're getting towards the end
Yeah.
for
Yep.
time here. You have this opening.
Yes.
So 90 seconds or less.
Okay.
Talk about this so we can maybe get this out, or
Yeah.
you can get this out to the community. I know it's only 4 days away now, 5 days away.
Getting down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not just, and this is one thing when you talked about it earlier was, well, people or families with disabilities and mental illness, this is challenge people that don't have any of these problems that you serve to come, because
Yeah,
they're
I
as
want
much as important to it as well.
Community to come.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
share it in a
Do
nutshell.
you want to do it, or you want me
Well,
to?
I'm
Both-
going to start by saying we kind of see their Momentum Art program as the gateway, public gateway that used to be.
So this is art therapy, basically.
Well, they do have art therapy in it, which is
Right.
great. And there's So when she says there's a free art program, it's free to anybody that identifies with having mental illness or trauma or a disability. So they can access studio time. They can sell their works at First Fridays at Mainframe Studios. They can be part of their annual exhibition and get workshops and professional development. So I love that aspect about community support advocates. It tells you right away that they're doing things differently than most people. People don't have art on their radar. There's so much more research coming out about how art impacts our brains and our well-being. So they're celebrating 20 years of their annual exhibition called Momentum
Works of Growth.
Works of Growth
She knows.
and Recovery. Yes, I mean, I should know this by now, but that's a great thing to put on your calendar every year in October that it happens, because that's a wonderful time to come celebrate what they do every day and really get people interested in what they do through the power of art.
And I've been, and the art is very impressive. I mean,
It
there's
is.
some talented people
It
there.
really is. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a new Momentum Gallery at this new building. So I'm going to hand it over to Christina to say, come down and see that new gallery and
Yes.
many other things.
So, yeah, June 25th, 4 to 6 at our new space, which is at 1516 Valley West Drive in West Des Moines. We want really anybody who's interested. If you're interested in getting services, you're interested in learning about us. We also want our neighbors in West Des Moines or businesses around anywhere just to stop in. We want people to, it's kind of like we're welcoming ourselves to the community. Please come learn about us. We want people who know about us to see our new space and see what we're doing new. But we also definitely want people who have no idea who we are just to stop in and see, hey, what's this about? Because we'll have a walking tour of all of our services. You can get to meet and talk staff. There'll be a place to find out how to work for us. There'll be a place to find out how to get services. But we'll be unveiling a big community art project that the Iowa Art Council gave us a grant to do that we've been working all year on. We unveiling a new art studio, as well as a new technology center that we have that will hopefully bring the community in and that they can use, much like your training center in here. And we're really looking at ways to not only how we can help the community, but bring the community more in. We want to have a nice, vibrant place for people, and this is our grand opening. Come see who we are.
So if somebody comes, 25, 30 minutes will be there, 45-minute
You
experience?
can be there as long as
That's what
you
we
want. So there's going to be live music.
Oh, great.
There'll be Stuttering Jimmy and his band. If you haven't heard Stuttering Jimmy, he's fantastic.
Does he, in fact, stutter?
He does, unless he's singing.
Oh,
And
got
it's
it. Okay.
Fantastic. And then, so his band is fantastic. He will be performing. There'll be a ribbon cutting with the West Des Moines Chamber.
Oh, good.
There'll
Yeah.
be, dignitaries talking for the first few minutes, the first 4 to 4:30, that kind of thing. Then Stuttering Jimmy and his band will take over, and then we have food, and then of course that walking tour, and then you'll get to you can see art, and you can be there 30 minutes or you can be there the whole 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's really up to you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
And we'll put the information up on the screen for sure. And for those who don't know, you're by Men's Warehouse. You're across the street to the west from Valley West Mall. So that's
Yeah.
the new location.
Yeah,
Sure.
right by West Bank's new building, too.
Right.
That's people have been seeing come together the last
Oh,
year.
yeah, Catty Corner to you guys, right across
Yeah.
the street.
We actually got West Bank's old furniture, which is
Oh,
not
look at that.
old for us.
Yeah,
It's
right?
gorgeous
Brand
in
new.
there.
probably
Looks
great.
awesome.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really.
It's a big step up from the furniture we had.
Yeah. See,
I-
they know how to survive on little to nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm so excited that you came by today to visit. I
Thank you.
hadn't heard of it before. Obviously, this is something that we want to be a part of to help moving forward with you
Awesome.
guys as well.
Appreciate you.
But yeah, Jason, any
Thank
thoughts
you
on
for
your
your
part?
time.
No, but thank you, Christina, Siobhan, for
Thanks for being
talking
open.
with us today.
Yeah, I really appreciate being able to tell our story.
Thanks.